Okay, selamat pagi yang cantik-cantik and handsome. Siapa saja? Okay, kita hidupkan kamera sekejap untuk bergambar. Okay, ready? One. Oh, ada lagi. Okay, kejap. Okay, ready? One, two, three, smile. Okay, sekali lagi. One, two, three, four, smile. Okay, terima kasih. So, sesi pagi ini kita bersama Nadia Khan bersambung dengan kita punya character building ialah seperti yang saya cakap kemarin atau semalam, character building memang sangat penting pun untuk development skrip anda semua, dan sebab anda pun masih tengah buat proposal, masih juga nak buat dia punya character building. Jadi harap sesi pagi ini dengan Nadia Khan boleh membantu anda untuk perbaiki lagi karakter yang anda tengah develop, anda tengah build up, ya. Jadi without further ado, saya nak pass the torch kepada Nadia Khan. Beri tepukan pada Nadia Khan. Yeay.
Selamat pagi, semua boleh dengar? Dengar dengan jelas?
Yes, dengar jelas.
Okey. Hai, selamat pagi. Terima kasih banyak-banyak sebab bersama-sama dengan saya pada hari cuti. Saya tahu mungkin ini adalah sedikit pengorbanan sebab pagi-pagi cuti kita belajar kan, macam pergi kelas hari cuti. Tapi tak apa, kita akan cuba buat session ni sesantai dan seseronok yang mungkin. Okey, hari tu rasanya tak sempat untuk kita betul-betul melalui sesi Q&A. Jadi agak pelik sebenarnya kalau saya nak buka sesi ni dengan sesi Q&A, tapi hari tu ada tak apa-apa soalan yang mungkin ada sesiapa tak sempat nak tanya. Maybe I will address that first before we go on with a little bit more information. Kalau ada sesiapa nak tanya soalan berkenaan skrip yang dia sedang tulis ke, kalau soalan tu tak ada kena-mena dengan character building pun tak apa. Kalau nak tanya berkenaan dengan skrip, macam mana nak pitching dan sebagainya pun boleh, tak ada masalah. Sementara kita menunggu soalan, boleh tanya soalan dekat chat box atau boleh tanya secara teruslah melalui.
Mungkin saya jelaskan pada Nadia, dorang pun masih tengah buat exercise, Nadia, with me.
Okay.
Dorang tengah buat treatment, treatment, and dorang tengah pun buat dorang punya sinopsis, tapi sinopsis dorang akan pecahkan pergi 3 act atau 5 act. So maybe something that you can advise them how to make their story more interesting within the 3 acts in the synopsis masa dorang buat proposal dorang.
Okay, jadi sekarang tengah pecahkan, so diorang tengah buat that graph lah, that whole 3 act graph. Yes. Okay, yeah. So that's a pretty standard way of doing your 3 act structure melalui graph tu supaya lebih memudahkan. Dia bukan apa sebenarnya, supaya lebih memudahkan sesi pitching, supaya bila pitch tu orang yang tengok tu dapat nampak dengan jelas apa yang berlaku dalam dalam cerita tu. Jadi untuk the whole idea of pitching is to make sure that your idea is bought, that your idea is sold to the person that you're pitching it to. That's the whole idea. So it's important to make it as clear as possible and as interesting as possible with very little words sebenarnya. Walaupun kita ni dalam bengkel penulisan, tapi ketika pitching, realitinya ialah diorang tak nak tengok banyak perkataan. It's ironic, right? Because you are there as a writer, and a writer writes, and you know, words define a writer. But when you go for a pitch, I find that most people want to see the least amount of words possible. Logik tak macam tu? Maksudnya dia tak nak tengok perkataan yang terlalu banyak, dia tak nak tengok huraian, yang terlalu panjang. So, selalunya bila kita pitch, kita akan ada tekangan waktu. Kita akan mungkin diberikan, depends on where you're pitching. Sometimes you're given 10 minutes, certain places ada speed pitching. Ada speed pitching, dan speed pitching ni akan ambil masa like 5 minit. Jadi tergantung kepada waktu. Ada yang sedikit lebih pemurah, dia akan bagi macam dalam 20 minit macam tu. Jadi kita harus membuatkan sesuatu tu menarik di mata mereka dalam masa yang begitu singkat. So less words, more pictures. They love character references. Maksudnya kalau kita memang betul kita harus wujudkan satu watak yang mereka mahukan character references kepada watak-watak di luar sana yang dah sedia ada, watak-watak popular di luar sana yang sudah sedia ada, supaya senang untuk they make the connection rather than you present in your own words. Jadi mereka lebih mudah untuk mengenali watak anda melalui watak-watak lain yang dah sedia ada di pasaran. Of course, originality is fantastic and originality is key. Jika kita dapat sampaikan watak kita dengan kata-kata kita sendiri tanpa sebarang character reference, dan benda tu ialah original, dan kita dapat persembahkan dengan cara yang sangat menarik, selalunya itu, kalau saya berada dalam sesi pitching tu, saya akan lebih tertarik lah dengan sebuah idea yang original. Tapi the reality is that normally the people who decide whether or not they're going to give you funding, whether or not they are going to buy your story, the people who decide are normally people who wants to see whether your product can sell. So yeah, there are two sides of things. One, they're going to want something that can sell, and the other one is somebody who truly looking for originality. But I can say, frankly, the one that's looking for originality is maybe 30% of the industry, and the other 70% is basically looking at something that they can sell, basically something that can make money lah. I don't want to sound jaded. I don't want to sound like macam cynical, but I'm just presenting to you the reality of things. Of course, if you come up with something original, very, very original, is even better. Jadi dalam penulisan sinopsis tu, pastikan sebenarnya apa yang lebih, bagi saya, apa yang lebih penting dan lebih menarik perhatian ialah logline lebih daripada sinopsis. Sebab sinopsis has a tendency to run long, and like I said, these people sometimes they don't read, they don't like to read sometimes. So your logline is very, very important. Apa itu logline? Has everybody known what is a logline? Dah pernah ada orang cover tu, Fariz?
I'm sorry. Logline is just the idea of their script, but maybe you can even give them more of your tips from your perspective of logline. Sebab Sabri pun ada pernah, I also pernah, but your perspective pula on logline.
Okay, so to me, your logline is that one line about your story that is going to immediately grab the person reading it or hearing it. So betul macam kata Daniel, logline is the main idea of your story. 20 ke 25 patah perkataan is somewhat correct, betul. But the main idea or the main issue, not the main issue, sorry, salah. The main concept of a log line is that in this one line, you're supposed to be able to sell your story in just one line. This is how, ini kita harus anggap log line begini. Jika anda diberi peluang untuk hanya menulis satu ayat, dan dengan satu ayat ini, it's a make or break thing for you. Dengan satu ayat ini, anda dapat jual cerita anda in just one line. For example, saya suka buat exercise ni of an existing movie. Okay, katalah Harry Potter belum wujud. Let's say you came up with Harry Potter, the entire idea of Harry Potter. Now, how can you turn Harry Potter into a log line that summarizes Harry Potter and makes people interested to either read or watch Harry Potter? This can be our first exercise actually. Saya mengambil contoh Harry Potter sebab yelah Harry Potter mudah kan, dia ramai orang tahu, semua orang tahu. So yeah, let's try it. Mari kita tengok dalam chat box, siapa yang boleh menulis satu ayat mengenai Harry Potter jika Harry Potter tak wujud. One line to define Harry Potter, to make people buy Harry Potter as an idea. Let's give you all 10 minutes. Tak pernah tengok full series pun tak apa, as long as you have an idea of what Harry Potter is about. Tak pernah tengok full series is fine, as long as you have an idea of what the story is about. Kita bagi pilihan lah. Sama ada kita menulis logline untuk Harry Potter ataupun kita menulis logline untuk seniman bujang lapuk. Sama ada kita menulis logline untuk Harry Potter ataupun kita menulis logline untuk seniman bujang lapuk. Katalah seniman bujang lapuk tak pernah dibikin, tak pernah ditunjukkan kepada orang ramai. It's just an idea at this point. How do you write a logline for seniman bujang lapuk yang akan membuatkan semua orang tertarik untuk menonton seniman bujang lapuk? Alright, 10 minit. 10 minit. 10 minit cukup ke Fariz?
Boleh 10 minit.
10 minit
Okay, I letak timer ya. So everyone can apa? Sebentar timer. Okay, saya letak timer and share screen.
Okay. Okay. Kita ada beberapa jawapan dekat sini. Kita baca. Alright. Plotline Harry Potter dari Anwar Hadi. Harry Potter ialah seorang anak yatim piatu yang dianaktirikan oleh keluarga angkatnya. Segalanya berubah bila dia menerima surat jemputan ke Hogwarts, sebuah sekolah untuk ahli sihir. Okay, what we're going to do now is that we're going to see the similarities between everybody's logline. Kita mula dengan Harry Potter dulu. Adila, lonely orphan boy, finds out he is the descendant of great magic and attends a wizard school to prepare for battle with an evil wizard. Alright. Suzanne, Harry Potter logline, an ordinary boy whose life changes when he discovers that he is a wizard who has been accepted to Hogwarts, a school for wizards. Mukris, filem yang bergenrekan magical fantasy ini mengisahkan konflik dalam kehidupan Harry dalam mengembangkan ilmu ahli sihirnya dan menentangkan ahli sihir yang jahat yang cuba untuk membunuhnya. Delhi, nombor 1. This is Harry Potter, I assume. Kehidupan biasa menjadi luar biasa. Johannes Arif, sebuah filem tentang, that's for Bujang Lapuk kan? Ishmadini, filem yang bergenrekan fantasi yang mengisahkan konflik antara seorang budak lelaki dengan raja kegelapan yang menyebabkan banyak kematian dan kemusnahan. Nami, this is a fantasy fiction story of an orphan that discovers himself as a wizard. He's starting to know about the world of magic and have to walk through the new things that he never think of. Daniel, memang Bujang Lapuk. Okay, jadi apa yang persamaan yang kita dapat daripada logline semua orang berkenaan dengan Harry Potter, ramai yang highlight the fact that he's either an orphan or ordinary, dan ramai juga yang memang highlightkan tentang dunia magic dan ahli sihir, because that is what the story is all about. Jadi perbezaan antara logline, kita bedah perbezaan antara logline. Okay, Anwar Hadi. Anak yatim piatu dianaktirikan oleh keluarga angkatnya. So, remember, there's no right or wrong. I'm just dissecting because how you write your logline highlights what you think is important to you about the story. So, if I were to look at Anwar Hadi punya logline, it seems as though the important thing to Anwar Hadi about Harry Potter is his upbringing, meaning his nurture, his surroundings. Sebab dia highlightkan that he's an orphan and dianaktirikan oleh keluarga angkat. Jadi dia establish upbringing Harry. Dan segalanya berubah bila dia menerima surat jemputan ke Hogwarts, sebuah sekolah untuk ahli sihir. So, apabila seseorang membaca logline ataupun the ones you're pitching to are reading your logline, their eyes tend to pick up keywords. So, let's say for this example, this logline that Anwar Hadi has written, keywords yang dia akan pick up ialah anak yatim piatu, sekolah ahli sihir. Jadi bila dia pick up perkataan-perkataan ni, kenapa dia orang pick up perkataan-perkataan ni? Why do they zone in on certain keywords? It's because in their heads, they're immediately trying to ascertain the genre. They're immediately trying to place or to categorize your story. This is what happens in pitching rooms lah. Saya sendiri secara peribadi, saya tak suka, I don't like putting things into pigeonholes. I don't like categorizing and I don't like boxing stories into categories. But the reality is that normally when you pitch a story, the ones you're pitching to are going to try and categorize your story. Sebab dia akan nak cuba letakkan genre pada cerita tu supaya dia tahu macam mana dia nak jual cerita ni, kepada siapa dia nak jual cerita ni, who is it going to be marketable to, who is it going to be directed at. Jadi bila dia baca, kalau contoh bila dia baca logline Anwar Hadi ni, dia akan terus kategorikan cerita ni sebagai YA fantasy, young adult fantasy, sebab certain keywords pop up. Anak yatim piatu, sekolah, ahli sihir. So immediately it's a young adult fantasy genre, which is what Harry Potter is. Harry Potter is a young adult story that evolved into uh, I tak boleh cakap adult kan. Adult means a different thing. If I say it's an adult movie, it means a different thing. So it's a young adult story that has evolved into fiction that is relatable to everybody, not just young adult, and it's a fantasy story. Okay, so looking at keywords, macam Adila, lonely orphan boy finds out he is the descendant of great magic and attends a wizard school to prepare for battle with an evil wizard. So what pops out here, what is important to Adila is to define his current world before he discovered Hogwarts, meaning to define his mood, to define his emotion, to define how he is as a person, or rather how his surroundings have affected him. Hence, she chose the word lonely to basically describe Harry. Finds out he is the descendant of great magic and attends a wizard school to prepare for battle with an evil wizard. Now, this is what I find interesting. This last part of the logline, to prepare for battle with an evil wizard. Sebab Adila has chosen to highlight straight away what the conflict would be. And maksudnya it is how Adila sees the story. The story is about, the whole point of the story is basically is about this battle with this evil wizard. So that's what appealed to you, that's what stuck out to you, and that's why you wrote it in your logline. So sebenarnya cara kita menulis logline, selain daripada memberitahu orang tentang apa yang kita nak sampaikan, it tells people about how we are as well. So Adila just basically gets straight to the point, and I'm going to tell you straight what is going to be the conflict of the story. Okay? So then, Harry Potter logline, an ordinary boy. Suzanne chooses to define this boy, an ordinary boy, whose life changes when he discovers that he's a wizard who has been accepted to Hogwarts as school for wizards. So highlight here is whose life changes. Untuk seseorang that you are pitching it to, the word that he's going to pick, I feel that the keyword that he's going to pick out daripada this logline is whose life changes. So they are going to focus on that, and they are going to want to see in your synopsis and in your 3-act structure. Katalah kalau you try to put Harry Potter into a 3-act structure, they're going to want to see that change. That change is what they want to see. How does his life change? Because that is the highlight here in your logline. His life changes. So how does his life change? This is going to be what they want to see. So your logline is basically, if we put it, kalau kita cakap secara jokingly lah kan, is a hole that you dig yourself into, and how deep a hole are you willing to go into, and how willing are you to defend that hole. That's basically your logline, because it's an opening, and from there we will see how deep it goes. So that's what a logline is pretty much all about. Mukris, filem yang bergenrekan magical fantasy. Now Mukris immediately genrekan cerita ni. Like, you don't have to think about what the genre is. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you right now in the logline. Filem yang bergenrekan magical fantasy ini mengisahkan konflik dalam kehidupan Harry dalam mengembangkan ilmu ahli sihirnya dan menentangkan ahli sihir yang jahat yang cuba untuk membunuhnya. Alright? Okay, now although your logline is supposed to summarize your story, but a good logline is not supposed to give away the entire story. Don't know if I'm making sense. But your logline, even though it summarizes your story, your logline is supposed to summarize, but at the same time entice. Maksudnya, to leave enough mystery in the logline so that you don't give it all away. Maksudnya, because your logline is not your synopsis. Jangan salah faham. Sebab ada ramai orang yang mungkin mudah terkeliru antara logline dengan synopsis. Your logline is to summarize and at the same time entice. So, logline patut memiliki dua ciri ni. Summarize and entice. Sometimes people just summarize but they don't entice. Sometimes people entice but they don't summarize. Contoh, macam yang Delhi buat ni, kehidupan biasa menjadi luar biasa. This is enticing. But unfortunately, it's not really summarizing. Sebab kehidupan biasa menjadi luar biasa is very general. Like anything can be kehidupan biasa menjadi luar biasa. It can be anything. So it has to be both enticing and summarizing. So untuk Delhi ni mungkin kelemahan sikit di sini ialah dia enticing tetapi tidak summarizing. Untuk Mukris pula dia summarizing tetapi mungkin memerlukan sedikit elemen misteri in the sense that you don't give it all away. Jadi untuk Johannes buat untuk Bujang Lapuk Ishmadini, filem yang bergenrekan fantasi yang mengisahkan konflik antara seorang budak lelaki dengan raja kegelapan yang menyebabkan banyak kematian dan kemusnahan. Okay, so this is very interesting because when I read this logline, and if I don't know Harry Potter, dalam fikiran saya, cerita ni adalah sebuah cerita yang sangat dark. It's very dark. It's very serious. Ia sangat serius. Dan sedikit menggusarkan. Ini perasaan yang saya dapat daripada membaca logline. So, Ishmadini, kalau kita tahu, sebab kita semua tahu cerita Harry Potter, dan kita tahu yang yes, Harry Potter has its darkness. Yes, Harry Potter has a serious side to it. But does this logline really capture what Harry Potter is all about? Maksudnya, kalau saya katakan yang bila saya baca logline ni, dan saya tak pernah tonton Harry Potter, dan saya pergi berborak dengan orang lain tentang Harry Potter, berpura-pura yang saya tahu hanya dengan membaca logline ni. Jadi saya cakap pada dia, oh cerita tu serius kan? Cerita tu serius sangat. Cerita tu dark, macam kesian dekat budak tu. Tak pasal-pasal dia kena lawan dengan orang, lawan dengan raja, dia akan cakap macam tu. Dia terpaksa lawan dengan raja. Jadi now, when you imagine this person berborak dengan orang lain tentang Harry Potter, how do you think the people around him would react? Maksudnya, sebagai orang yang dah tahu tentang Harry Potter, mesti kita sebagai orang yang dah tahu tentang Harry Potter akan cakap, cerita tu serius, memang serius lah, tapi tak adalah serius sangat. Dan budak tu boleh je lawan dengan mamat tu sebab dia ada magic. Dan mamat tu pun bukan raja sebenarnya. Contohlah, I know raja kegelapan here is it's just a way with words. But yeah, so what I'm trying to say is that you have to be able to capture the story in a way that makes somebody who wants to talk about that story pretty much knows what the story is all about. Sebab walaupun macam saya cakap, tak salah, logline ini tak salah, cuma dia mungkin tidak dapat betul-betul capture feel Harry Potter tu. is the feel, because the feel that we always get from watching Harry Potter is that it is a fantasy story, it is a friendship story, and it is a hero's journey. Hero's journey you dah cover in the sense that dia melawan kegelapan yang menyebabkan banyak kematian dan kemusnahan ni. Okay, this is, kalau kita tadi mencari keyword kan, this is going to be the keyword that I'm going to look at, yang menyebabkan banyak kematian dan kemusnahan. So the person that you're pitching it to is probably going to think, this is a very dark story. It can be depressing because it's a boy. It seems as though he's a helpless boy against somebody very, very powerful. So dalam kepala orang yang you pitch tu, is going to be something serious like Lord of the Rings. And there is a huge difference between Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter in the feel of it. But Lord of the Rings ialah satu yang sangat serious dan satu yang sangat orang kata a bit more bleak than Harry Potter. So yeah, penting untuk kita fikirkan apa feel yang kita nak dapat, because there is a feel good element to Harry Potter, and it's not just about destruction and death. Okay, Nami, this is a fantasy fiction story of an orphan that discovers himself as a wizard. He's starting to know about the world of magic and have to walk through the new things that he never think of. Okay, so keywords here: orphan, wizard, starting to know about the world of magic and have to walk through the new things that he never think of. Okay, so this somewhat summarizes, and it also entices, sebab kita tak tahu what are these new things. We know he's a wizard, so this world of magic is something new, and what does he go through? Okay, all right, so that would be, I mean, like, there are keywords there. It's both enticing, it's both enticing and summarizing. Adam, upon discovering he inherits magical powers, a young orphan must now thwart a powerful, sinister force intent on destroying him as he makes his way in a school of wizards. Okay, so this is like, this is a good summary. This is a very good summary, because immediately the plot, or rather the graph of the plot is graphed out very well, in the sense that there is an intro, there is a starting. The starting is that he has magical powers. And then there is an entire conflict, an entire journey in conflict. Must now thwart a powerful, sinister force intent on destroying him. And at the same time, he sets the backdrop of the story as he makes his way in a school of wizards. So that's a backdrop. So this is a good way of maybe practicing to write a logline. The first rule tadi, it has to be both summarizing and enticing. The second one is that if you're able to define it with an establishing point, the entire plot, and the background and the backdrop of the story, these three things, then most of the time you would be able to cover the summarizing part of the logline. Okay, Daniel, Harry Potter. Harry, seorang anak yatim piatu, ditawarkan untuk menyertai sekolah untuk ahli sihir. Harry memulakan petualangannya untuk memerangi kejahatan apabila mengetahui kisah sebenar bahawa ibu bapanya bukan terlibat dalam kemalangan namun telah dibunuh oleh ahli sihir jahat Voldemort. Okay. Again, question that we are asking ourselves, is this summarizing? Yes, it's summarizing. Is it enticing? I would say so, somewhat. Now, he's able to introduce the character. Harry, seorang anak yatim piatu. He's able to map out the journey, memulakan petualangannya mengenai kejahatan. I guess there is also a backdrop in which he says untuk menyertai sekolah, so there's already a backdrop. So this is good, this in the sense that it's summarizing. But again, again, you have to make sure that satu is enticing, and you have to make sure that you don't confuse logline with synopsis, because very easy logline can trespass and go into the synopsis punya area. Alright, so yeah, I'll try this for Harry Potter. Yeah. Berapa patah perkataan yang perfect untuk sebuah logline? There's no hard and fast rule of, I mean, like, there's no perfectness. But 20 to 25 tadi sounds about right, I think. But this is not actually my logline. This was a logline given to me during another bengkel, during another workshop, and I think it gave me goosebumps. That was the logline. An orphan boy discovers a wizarding world where he is famous. So why does this logline give me goosebumps, and why do I feel that this is a good logline? Okay. It is both summarizing and enticing, and in very little words. It describes the boy. The key thing about the boy is that he's an orphan, I feel, for Harry Potter, because the entire time that you are watching the movie, you're constantly reminded that he is an orphan. Like, you're an orphan, mak bapak dia mati, mak bapak dia mati, mak bapak dia mati. And that has always been the highlight of Harry Potter, that he is an orphan, and the fact that why was he an orphan is something that we need to find out. An orphan boy discovers a wizarding world where he is famous. So this summarizes everything about Harry Potter in just one simple line with very few words. And of course, this is an art that we have to master, right? It's not, I mean, like, after a while, we will get the hang of it. But yeah, so this is enticing, this is summarizing, and it covers the three things that I said just now. It has character introduction. It has the entire journey, because the entire journey is only defined by this. Where he is famous. In four words, this logline managed to define the journey of Harry Potter in just 4 words, where he is famous. So can you imagine, kita bayangkan diri kita yang tiada siapa-siapa, we're ordinary, and then kita discover satu dunia di mana dalam dunia tu semua orang kenal kita. Everybody knows us. So that in itself is a magical journey. And that is what Harry Potter is all about. So the reason why I find that this logline is magic is because in just 4 simple words, he was able to define the journey of Harry Potter. And then we have a backdrop. Discovers a wizarding world. The wizarding world is the backdrop. So in just very few words, he managed to tick everything off the list and he managed to come up with a really, really powerful logline. So this is, to me, an example of a powerful logline. Sebab kalau you pitch this to anybody in a room, they would immediately go, whoa. That's the effect that you want whenever you pitch something. Whenever you pitch a logline or a synopsis. Okay, ni kita tengok Seniman Bujang Lapuk. Seniman Bujang Lapuk. Adila. Seniman Bujang Lapuk. A group of friends try their luck to venture into the film industry as actors to hilarious circumstances. Okay, so it is summarizing, it's enticing. You have a character introduction, a group of friends. Maybe you can find a better way to describe your characters rather than just a group of friends, because the title itself is actually very telling of the story, right? Because it's Seniman Bujang Lapuk. So I think the Bujang Lapuk factor has to go into your logline. A group of friends try their luck to venture into the film industry as actors to hilarious circumstances, right? So this defines the journey, and then the film industry is the backdrop. Okay. Dari, seorang seniman hidup di zaman kuno tetapi berkarya mendahului zaman. Okay. Dari rasanya ini ialah logline untuk kehidupan Piramli. Bukan logline untuk Seniman Bujang Lapuk, tetapi ini adalah sebenarnya logline kepada kehidupan Piramli. Seorang seniman hidup di zaman kuno tetapi berkarya mendahului zaman. Ini, this defines Piramli actually. Okay. Mana tadi? Daniel. Seniman Bujang Lapuk mengisahkan tentang 3 sekawan yang menganggur dan ingin menjadi artis terkenal. I like this. I like that. I like that you use the keyword menjadi artis terkenal. Because I think this is interesting, and it is the right use of keyword, because dalam Seniman Bujang Lapuk, it's not so much that they want to be actors kan. Diorang bukan nak jadi pelakon. Waktu tu diorang panggil nak main wayang. And we know that the whole intention of them wanting to menceburi bidang ni ialah untuk dapat duit dan untuk jadi famous lah. Dan menjadi artis terkenal kind of sums it up pretty well. Mereka jatuh cinta dengan gadis pujaan masing-masing namun harus menghadapi cabaran untuk memiliki pujaan hati mereka. Alright, this is a very good summary. This is a very concise synopsis. However, in order to make it a log line, I think it needs to be in less words. I think dia perlu lebih enticing dan perlu lebih summarizing. Because I feel that this is a very good concise synopsis, but for a log line it can be improved mengikut ciri-ciri yang kita dah bincangkan tadi. Okay. Johannes tadi rasanya dah. Okay, Johannes, sorry, terlepas. Sebuah filem tentang pengembaraan bujang-bujang terlajak umur. Okay, this is a good character. This is a good character introduction, character definition. Bujang-bujang terlajak umur untuk mencuba masuk ke dunia perfilman dengan latar penggambaran belakang tabir sewaktu proses pembikinan filem di zaman itu. Alright. Okay. So we have character definition, bujang-bujang terlajak umur, mencuba masuk ke dunia perfilman perfilman dengan latar penggambaran belakang tabir sewaktu proses pembikinan filem zaman itu. Okay. Now, I think dengan latar penggambaran belakang tabir sewaktu proses pembikinan filem di zaman itu is something that you can do without. Maksudnya, you boleh untuk tak tulis benda tu. Kalau berhenti untuk mencuba masuk ke dunia perfilman, sebab the later definition tu mungkin tak perlu. So when we write log lines, we have to pick and choose our words, make sure that we write the right keywords that can immediately capture it, dan tidak, orang kata macam mana? Tidak ada unsur lengah lah dengan kata-kata kita. We shouldn't use words just because we need to use them. Macam tu lah lebih kurang. Jadi okay, I'll give Bujang. I didn't miss out tadi, right? So I'm gonna give Bujang Lapuk a try. Cuba lah bahasa Inggeris. Sekejap boleh siapa tolong, macam ni kita nak translate perkataan upgrade.
Naik taraf.
Tahu. Naik taraf. Tapi doesn't quite capture it lah. Tapi untuk sekejap This would be mine. 3 teruna telajak mencuba nasib sebagai pelakon untuk menaik taraf hidup yang terlalu warna-warni. So, what I'm trying to capture here with this logline, I'm trying to capture that it is a comedy. Ini penting. Sebab tadi, selain daripada summarizing and enticing, we also need to capture the feel, kan? Macam tadi kita discuss. We have to capture the feel. Because I don't want people, the reason why this was chosen was because I don't want people to look at it and think that it is a serious story. I don't want people to think of it as a drama. People need to know that it is a comedy. So kalau katalah tadi saya mengakhiri ayat saya dengan 3 teruna telajak mencuba nasib sebagai pelakon untuk menaik taraf hidup. Kalau saya berhenti di situ, orang akan melihat cerita ini sebagai drama. So that's why it is important for you to choose your words carefully in a logline, because that will define the feel of your story. Kalau saya berhenti dekat 3 teruna telajak mencuba nasib sebagai pelakon untuk menaik taraf hidup, berhenti dekat situ, orang akan sangka, oh ini cerita drama. Orang akan melalui banyak kesusahan sebab yalah, sebab dia nak naik taraf hidup and it's a journey and it's a rags to riches story and it's going to be hard, it's going to be difficult. Orang akan anggap macam tu, it's a drama. Tapi sebab saya tambah yang terlalu warna-warni, di situ ada elemen komedi. Maksudnya yang terlalu warna-warni maksudnya macam life diorang interesting sebenarnya, tapi macam dah lah hidup dengan jiran-jiran. Because that's what the story is all about in Main Bujang Lapuk. Macam like, alah pening kepala lah dengan jiran-jiran ni, nak kena beratur, kena beli air, tengah-tengah malam ada orang main saxophone, tengah-tengah malam ada orang main trumpet. So hidup diorang warna-warni sebenarnya. So we want to highlight that. We want to highlight that they actually do have a colourful life, an interesting, colourful, comical life. But they've kind of had enough of it. They want to upgrade their lives to maybe a better home, where they have a little bit more privacy, and they're going to do that by trying to be actors. So dekat sini, elemen komedi itu kita dapat nampak melalui 3 keywords. Telajak ni dah establish elemen komedi. Mencuba nasib sebagai pelakon, even though this is a backdrop of the story, tetapi sebab orang akan nampak dia sebagai elemen komedi sebab kenapa pelakon of all things? Why do you want to try and act? Untuk menaik taraf hidup yang terlalu warna-warni. Ini pun establish that it is a comedy. So we have established the feel of it. Kita ada character definition, kita ada backdrop, dan kita ada journey. So Daniel, terima kasih sekali lagi. Cerita 3 sekawan menganggur yang lucu dan ingin menjadi artis terkenal untuk memikat pujaan hati mereka. Okay, Daniel. This is a very good log line for us to discuss. Okay. Bila kita, macam mana nak cakap? It is very dangerous for when you pitch a comedy and you letak directly dekat dalam you punya log line perkataan seperti lucu dan when you, macam mana, bila you letak dalam logline you, in a way kata-kata pujian lah, sebab lucu, menarik, ini semua adalah kata-kata untuk kita when we want to define something in a positive light, right? We say things like lucu, menarik, cantik, contohnya lah. I'm not saying it's wrong, you can. But it is dangerous because the moment you put that in, people are going to expect it to the point where it becomes annoying. Sebab orang terlalu tunggu benda tu macam, okay kau cakap dia orang ni lucu cerita 3 sekawan menganggur yang lucu. They better be funny. Ini akan diorang punya, ini adalah orang punya first impression. They are going to expect something out of you. So whenever you try to make something according to a particular genre, let's say when you try to make a comedy, try to not define it as comedy with obvious words, but rather with the way you tell the story. But ini lebih, orang kata lebih skillful, because kalau you straight away kata, oh ini adalah sebuah komedi yang lucu, ini adalah sebuah cerita yang menarik, it comes across as, kita takut it comes across as amateurish. Dan orang yang mendengar akan rasa macam, he's trying too hard to sell it to us as a comedy. He's trying too hard to sell it to us. Like macam kalau cerita tu cerita sedih pun, contohnya. Sebuah cerita yang meruntun perasaan, contoh kalau kita tulis. Sebuah cerita yang meruntun perasaan. The people who are sitting in the receiving end is like, you better make me cry. Dan diorang akan macam, dia ni terlalu try hard untuk jual kepada kita yang cerita ni cerita sedih. Jadi, always try to orang kata, let the story speak for itself. Don't try to speak for the story in terms of in terms of the genre. Okay, cerita tiga sekawan menganggur lucu dan ingin menjadi artis terkenal untuk memikat pujaan hati mereka. Now, okay, this is okay, cumanya yang part last tu untuk memikat pujaan hati mereka tu, part yang last tu sebab kita dah tonton Seniman Bujang Lapuk kan, jadi kita boleh macam tanya, ya ke untuk memikat pujaan hati mereka? Because the reason why I'm saying ya ke is because if you remember Seniman Bujang Lapuk correctly, the entire story yang betul-betul memikat, yang betul-betul ada story arc tentang percintaan hanyalah Piramli dengan Saloma. Yang betul-betul ada story arc throughout the entire story. Jitun dan Dayang Sofia muncul hanya di hujung cerita tu untuk less than 5 minutes dekat belakang pokok tu, lepas diorang baling-baling barang kan. Sudin dengan Ajis lari dengan diorang. Dayang Sofia dan Jitun tak muncul sepanjang cerita, 5 minit terakhir sahaja as a cameo of sorts. So be careful when you are writing your logline, sebab bila benda tu tak ada, orang yang you pitch it tu akan tanya, mana you cakap diorang nak pikat pujaan hati mereka, because you use plural kan, mereka. So mana pujaan hati diorang? Yang saya nampak cuma Saloma sahaja. Jadi itu mungkin perlu diperkemas. Anwar Hadi, Bongo. Sebenarnya this defines Seniman Bujang Lapuk, tetapi hanya kepada orang yang dah menonton Seniman Bujang Lapuk lah. This was like a punchline. Tapi Anwar Hadi, Bongo ni bukan Seniman Bujang Lapuk. You got it mixed up. Bongo is Pendekar Bujang Lapuk. Kan? Bukan Seniman Bujang Lapuk. Cerita 3 bujang telajak menganggur yang lucu dan ingin menjadi artisnya untuk mereka. Okay. Alright. Sudah lupa cerita. Faham. Sebab kita selalu fikir yang dalam Seniman Bujang Lapuk ada love story punya elemen, dan kita assume yang love story tu untuk tiga-tiga orang lah. Sebenarnya yang memang ada strong love story element memang Bujang Lapuk sahaja. Because Bujang Lapuk is all about them finding love. And so that one has a strong love story element untuk ketiga-tiga watak. Okay, that was awesome. That was good exercise for a lot of guys. Okay. Jadi kita ada 45 minit lagi lebih kurang. Time flies, huh? Okay, jadi untuk exercise kita berkenaan dengan karakter, berkenaan dengan watak hari ni. Hari ni kita nak bercakap sedikit tentang, sebab hari tu kita dah cover berkenaan dengan pembinaan watak. Jadi hari ni kita nak bercerita tentang character dynamics. Character dynamics ialah apabila kita ada watak utama dan bagaimana watak lain yang maybe as strong or they may be supporting characters, or they may be other equally important characters, and how they interact with each other. Character dynamics ialah bagaimana watak-watak anda berinteraksi dengan satu sama lain, dan bagaimana anda match kan, atau how do you pair, not really pair, but how do you present them when they interact in a group. So that's character dynamics. Contohnya kalau kita tengok kalau kita tengok Avengers contohnya. Kalau kita tengok Avengers, kita ada character dynamics, terutama sekali dalam Civil War, dan kita ada character dynamics di mana Captain America menentang Iron Man. Dan kita ada character dynamics di sini di mana karakter Captain America seorang yang sangat altruistic, sangat idealistic, bertentangan dengan Iron Man yang lebih realistic dan lebih pragmatic. So how do these two characters clash? In that sense, it's clash. Sometimes it's not necessarily a clashing of characters, but it's not exactly a clashing of characters, but it is also a an integration of characters. Okay, so lagi satu, saya ada satu filem yang saya suka melihat character dynamics. Ni salah satu daripada filem yang suka. I don't know if any of you have seen Horrible Bosses 2. I think the character dynamics between the three main characters was fantastic. Jadi, Fariz saya tak sure, boleh saya share link ke kepada Fariz? Then Fariz, can you play this video?
Yep.
Sekejap. Should I type it in the chat box?
Yes, can.
Okay. So Fariz akan mainkan video ni untuk kita semua. It's a character introduction. Of course, this is a sequel, so you already know the characters sebenarnya. Tapi, it is such good storytelling that this movie can stand on its own even though it is a sequel. You tak payah tengok the first Horrible Bosses untuk you faham the second Horrible Bosses. You know why? Because they establish the characters again in the sequel so well in just one scene that you're able to follow the story. So this is how character establishment is done. And
Okay, anytime, just play.
oh, okay.
So I go ahead, yeah, Nadia?
Can.
Okay.
I mean, guys, this is a big deal. I mean, we got everything riding on this, all right? We've quit our jobs. I have 3 children to think about now. How about that?
Okay, well, think about this, okay? You do a good job right now, you're gonna make your little boys very proud.
Girls.
Hmm?
I have 3 girls, dude.
Oh, right. Well, I mean, so what? You can't even tell if they basically look like potatoes
Don't
with
throw the
arms.
kids' potatoes
I
on.
didn't. I said
Stop.
they look like
Piss him
potatoes.
off. They wear pink.
I'm not wearing. Well, a lot of guys wear pink. I have a pink polo shirt that I love wearing.
Are we gonna roll of paper towels over here?
They're gonna roll the paper towels.
Why are you
The
barking
newspaper or
at people?
something?
He's saying please, and you're just barking. Bad manners.
Buddy, dry your face.
He's really freaking
I
out.
feel like you guys should go on without me. Can you guys go on without me?
Well, I'm glad you said it. Why don't you wait in the car, buddy? It's a lot of sweat.
Stop it. This is going to be very easy. You have to calm down, okay? Look, Nick's going to hit him with facts and figures because he's the brains, right? Right? You're going to talk about how you and your wife fucked and made 3 little potatoes with arms, all right? You're the heart. Me, I'm going to do my thing, get where I fit in. Please.
That makes you the soul?
No, I'm the dick and balls. The soul. Why would I want to be the soul?
Just don't pass out, okay?
Soul.
Keep breathing.
See, this is going to be real easy. All we have to do is be ourselves.
Oh, let's not be ourselves. Ourselves is a dumpster fire. Let's be better than ourselves. Let's try to elevate.
That's a good note. Nobody be themselves. Good tip.
Back in 20 seconds. Hey, fellas. Thanks for coming. Nice to meet you. Nick?
Yes, it is.
All right, nice to meet you.
Hey, my man. There's trouble.
Well, you went with us?
Dale Arbus.
Pleasure to meet you, man. Thank you guys for coming out. This is going to be fun.
That's zip all the way down?
And we're back in 5, 4. And we're back. You know, every week we like to highlight local inventors and entrepreneurs in our Big Ideas Spotlight.
That's right, Mike. And today we have 3 modern-day Edisons who've created a new power gadget they hope to really clean up with. Please welcome Nick, Kurt, and Dave.
Now, before we get into the product, can you tell us what is it that inspired 3 regular Joes to go into business for yourselves?
Yeah, well, we were all working at pretty terrible jobs for some awful bosses, and we just thought if we ever got a chance to be our own bosses, that we'd do things differently, and this might be our shot.
Yeah, so we didn't think we'd ever get the chance, but then our buddy Dale here had an amazing idea.
Don't go to Dale.
Yeah, right. And, you know, we just started meeting together to talk about the invention instead of complaining about our jobs.
Hey, I think that's exciting.
Well,
Dale,
now-
you know, I just want to know, where did the idea come from for a new
I have
shower
3 kids.
head?
So that's the heart.
That's a blessing. That's a blessing.
Yeah, well, it's triplets. He had triplets.
In all honesty, it's too many. I'm pretty overwhelmed.
Well, he's got him on his mind, clearly. Let me answer the question. Dale had just gotten back from one of those self-service car washes, right, with the wand, with the soap.
Oh,
and
yeah,
the
it's got
wax.
everything in the
Oh,
one thing.
okay,
Right, yeah.
He simply thought, why don't they make one of these for your body?
Yeah, and after we had a few beers, we came up with the shower buddy.
The shower buddy.
I'm sorry, that name's not official yet. So.
No, he's wrong. It is official.
I wanted the shower daddy.
Shower daddy is worse on pretty much every level, so.
Yeah, I have to agree with Nick.
Well, it's better than having some strange dude in the shower with you.
It's not some strange dude, Dale, as I've said many, many times. It's your buddy.
Well, why would your buddy be in the shower with you?
Why would your dad?
Uh-oh.
Don't scream on television.
Well, you know what? How about you fellas show us how this
That's the
little
next
gizmo
step.
works, right?
It's ready. Work it. Oh, this is awesome.
So Kurt's gonna go ahead and get in there and he's gonna turn on the shower. You're gonna see the water come out. After a little bit of time, the shampoo's gonna automatically be triggered out of the shower head.
No
Mix
water,
with
no water pressure.
Use the blue handle.
No, there's no water pressure.
You know, there's a pump on the back. I can pump it up manually.
Well,
Dale's
Dale's
gonna
gonna do
help.
it without.
Thanks,
Okay,
buddy.
you know what?
You got it?
I got it.
The water comes out. The shampoo then automatically mixes with the water. Then shortly thereafter, that conditioner
And then you
comes
shower
in.
in half the time. with the
Effectively,
shower
yeah. The average American, I don't know if you guys know.
Okay, Fariz rasanya
hours a week.
boleh berhentikan dulu.
Hands curled up.
Okay, jadi daripada intro ni, kita boleh nampak yang satu, this is a very clever device. Bila kita kata device ialah medium ataupun alat yang digunakan untuk penceritaan. This is a very clever device di mana 3 orang ini akan ditemu ramah on a morning show. Jadi walaupun mereka ditemu ramah dalam cerita itu, tetapi sebenarnya mereka ditemu ramah untuk kita, for the audience to get to know their characters through this interview. Dan karakter dia sangat jelas. Macam Dale tu seorang yang sangat senang nervous, senang anxious, senang gelabah, dan yang tengah-tengah tu seseorang yang sangat yakin diri, tapi pada masa yang sama sedikit bodoh-bodoh alang, dan yang kanan sekali ialah seseorang yang paling orang kata world weary. Dia penat dengan segala orang kata kesusahan dunia dan telatah kawan-kawan dia yang dia rasa macam kenapa lah aku ada kawan-kawan macam ni. So he's very world weary. Jadi dan 3 karakter ni nampak dengan begitu jelas dalam hanya 2 minit pertama. So that is the orang kata the goal for you to whenever you introduce your characters into a movie or in a movie and to your audience, to make them clear to your audience in just a matter of minutes how these people actually are, so that later whatever decision that they make throughout the movie, it can be attributed back to their characters. Dan character interaction, character dynamics antara ketiga-tiga orang juga adalah sangat menarik sebab walaupun mereka berbeza dari segi personality, but they're friends. This is like what I said in the previous workshop before. It has to be believable that they are friends. Walaupun mereka berbeza dari segi personality, it has to be believable that they are friends. And watching that clip, we believe that they are friends. Even though they're tired with each other, they are very, they're very different. But we believe that they are friends through the interaction, through the banter, kita percaya yang diorang ni kawan-kawan. It has to be believable and it has to be clear. Seseorang yang, somebody wise once told me that whenever you do a story about a collective, about a group of people, and you want to make sure that the audience care about all of them, is to always try to imagine if all the characters were in a van and the van crashes and everybody dies, would the audience care? Would the audience mourn for them? Adakah audience akan rasa macam, alah, kenapa diorang mati? That's the kind of emotion that you want to invoke, that they don't want to lose these characters. Even the annoying ones, even the ones yang you tak berapa suka, tapi you tak nak diorang mati because he gives good character dynamics to the rest of the group. Setengah karakter, walaupun dia annoying, tapi di dalam group, he provides good character dynamics. Sebab kerana adanya dia dalam group tu ada seseorang untuk dibahan. Like he's the butt of the joke maybe, or he is somebody who always gets them into trouble, then there would be conflict. kan? Jadi karakter tu walaupun bukan karakter yang pleasant, tetap satu karakter yang kita tak nak kehilangan karakter tu. Macam contoh, bila saya menonton Game of Thrones, my favorite character is Cersei. And people can say things about Cersei like she's an evil lying dude. But I feel without Cersei, the story wouldn't be interesting because she's the one who create conflicts, and she's the one who has very strong character motivation that she would do anything to have it. And because of this very, very clear pathway of a character, of a motivation or of a goal, she will wreak havoc along the way when she wants to reach that goal. Jadi jadi itu yang kita nak. Jadi apa yang kita buat, kita nak cuba buat dalam exercise I think dalam 30 ke 40 minit terakhir ni, I'm going to write down a character here in the chat box, and so what you are going to do is that you will create a character that would interact with this character. Tak kira lah love interest ke, kawan ke, pakcik ke, but you are going to create a character that would interact with this character. Alright, and you can type it out. Okay. This is a rather typical character trope. The silent, reserved, meek type of character. Jadi ini adalah karakter Adi, seorang pelukis komik, pendiam, suka menyendiri, yakin pada diri sendiri, cuma merasakan orang lain yang tak yakin dengannya. Baru kematian ayah yang juga seorang pelukis komik, kini dia yatim piatu. He is in his mid to late 20s. Oh, juga seorang yang kemas dan tak suka orang lain mengganggu space. So, what I want you to do is for you to create a character in the same world, in the same universe, yang akan interact dengan Adi ni. And create a good character dynamics between your character and this character. Okay? Jadi yang ni kita ambil masa lama sikit. Kita ambil masa 20 minit. Boleh Fariz?
Boleh 20 minit?
Okay. Alright. Yeah, you can submit the character in the bahagian komen. So submit your character and basically how your character is going to interact with this character. Okay, 20 minutes, yeah. I see some very interesting characters that has been put out. Jadi kita akan tengok satu-satu siapa yang akan berinteraksi dengan Adi ni. Okay, just to recap, Adi ni seorang pelukis komik, pendiam, dia suka menyendiri. Dia yakin pada diri sendiri, cuma merasakan orang lain yang tak yakin dengannya. So he has the potential to become a bit cocky. Baru kematian ayah yang juga seorang pelukis komik, kini dia ada dua tu. So daripada ayat ni sendiri kita dapat tahu, kita dah boleh agak yang ayahnya mungkin seorang pengaruh yang sangat kuat dalam hidupnya sebab dia juga seorang pelukis komik. Dan kita boleh anggap yang dia rapat dengan ayahnya dan sekarang Adi sedang melalui depression. So at this point of time, he meets people or he already has people in his life, dan itu yang kita semua cuba lakarkan. So Anwar Hadi, Syazza seorang wartawan, affable and friendly, sentiasa mencari skop yang terbaru dan unik untuk mengetengahkan cerita yang kurang diketahui orang ramai. Anak tunggal dalam keluarga yang stabil dan bahagia, baru meninggalkan pasangan yang main kayu tiga dan akibat itu mempunyai self-esteem issues. Nice, menarik. Jadi saya bayangkan Syazza ni seorang yang agak bertentangan dengan karakter Hadi. This is a common character dynamics whereby you have somebody who is the complete opposite of the main character, dan kita tengok macam mana mereka berinteraksi sebagai dua perwatakan yang sangat berbeza dan sangat bertentangan dengan satu sama lain. Syazza juga bertentangan dari segi, orang kata, not just nature but also nurture. Dari segi upbringing keluarganya juga sedikit berbeza dengan Hadi sebab dia datang daripada keluarga yang stabil dan bahagia. So that kind of shapes up, I think, how Syazza is as a person. Baru meninggalkan pasangan yang main kayu tiga dan akibat itu mempunyai self-esteem issue. So this is very interesting because Syazza and Adi are both at a point in their lives where they have just suffered grief. Adi grief sebab baru kehilangan ayahnya dan Syazza baru lepas kehilangan pasangannya. Jadi menarik untuk melihat bagaimana dua watak ini berinteraksi dalam keadaan di mana dua-dua sedang menghadapi situasi hidup yang agak menyedihkan ataupun merapuhkan. And it's also interesting that she is a journalist. Dia mengetengahkan cerita yang kurang diketahui orang ramai. Jadi Hadi, kalau kita kalau boleh berinteraksi sedikit, how do you see Syazza meeting? Where and when do you see Syazza and Adi meeting for the first time?
I think, great.
Oh.
I think at a kind of a book launch event type thing.
Okay.
Is launching.
Is it Adi's or somebody else's?
I think it will be Adi lah.
Okay.
Adi is launching a new comic, and then Syazza is there to cover the story. And plot point. Their lives
Okay, how do you imagine the first interaction would be? Maksudnya, adakah Syazza ni akan interview dia secara direct? Adakah they strike up a conversation and Syazza actually doesn't know who he is? How do you imagine the first interaction to be?
I don't know. I'd like to think that macam siapa Adi punya publisher buat like a press conference untuk Adi punya book launch, tapi like ada dua jurnalis yang datang, and the other journalist tu macam is not happy to be there at all, and Syazza is the only one who kind of gives to.
So Syazza is happy to be there lah.
Yeah, because she thinks it's interesting. Macam she's a good journalist, I would like to imagine, and does her work well, and macam studies up on dia punya subject before dia sampai ke location dan actually come to the interview, and so macam asks questions that Adi is like macam, oh, these are nice questions. Macam kalau the band macam bukan soalan macam how did you come up with your band's name? It's a question that all bands get 100 times a day. But questions that are deeper macam that betray Syazza punya kind of ability and also dia punya interest lah in the subject matter that Adi is trying to illustrate dalam dia punya art. And so Adi is like macam, oh, okay, this person gets it. and kind of, I guess, Adi falls for her or something.
So they immediately get off on the right foot lah.
Mm, yeah. I mean, there's an initial attraction, I would feel, that would happen. Maybe Adi towards Shaza more than Shaza towards Adi, because Shaza is just doing her job. She's just good at it.
Right.
And Adi is, is not used to people caring that much about
his work.
So he's like, macam, I'm special. So he's like, macam, wants to get more of that attention, because he likes it, I think.
I like the setting that there are only two journalists dekat situ. Then it's a situation where it could turn out to be catastrophic or pathetic, but it turns out to be sweet.
Yeah.
And I think that's nice. That's nice. That's awesome. Great. Okay. So we have Shazal, this journalist who's going to interact with Adi. Okay, we go to the next one. Thanks, Adi. Suzanne has come up with Pauzi, someone who hates comics because her father was a she. Because, see, I assumed it was a guy. Someone who hates comics because her father dedicated his life to becoming a comic artist, which causes him to neglect her for the most part of her childhood. Okay. They used to get into arguments and fights because her father would rather work on his comics than spend time with her. When Pauzi meets Adi, she's immediately put off by him. He's infatuated by her though. She has interesting pink and purple hair, dresses like a comic book character. He would draw her sometimes in secret. She eventually finds out about it and gets angry at him. They end up having a heart-to-heart talk about comics, both discovering how big of an impact comics have in their lives. Okay, so here it's very interesting because Pauzi was actually brought up in somewhat of a same environment as Adi, and the way Pauzi reacted to it is very different than the way I imagine Adi reacted to it. Sebab Adi seorang yang suka menyendiri. Jadi bila bapaknya juga seorang yang suka menyendiri dan obses dengan komik, they are in their own spaces but in the same world, and Adi appreciates that the father is there as a sort of mentor, just silently guiding him, but also leaves him to his devices and gives him his own space. Tapi Pauzi membesar dalam keadaan yang lebih kurang sama, tetapi dia tak suka dengan keadaan tu. So it's very interesting because it's a contrast on how we react differently to the same surroundings. So it is very interesting to see. It's very interesting to see on screen how the same surroundings cause different effects. So yeah, I think that's very interesting. Suzanne, if you could tell me,
Yes.
hello.
Hello.
So if you can tell me, what would be the first time? When would be the first time they meet each other?
I imagine it to be like a college kind of a setting.
It does look like a college kind of setting.
Yeah, and maybe like some kind of orientation or something. He would see her from far away because she has like pink and purple hair, so she's like immediately noticeable. Then because he's like a shy introvert kind of a person, so he would like kind of notice her and starts drawing her, and then that may come off as creepy even, but she wouldn't know it until they get to like the same class, and she kind of sees pictures like comics of her on his desk, and then she would ask him about it. She would like confront him, then that's where they will actually talk.
So this is imagining that they are in the same college, Is he like a senior, or are they the same batch?
I assume they're the same batch because they will go to the orientation the first day together and stuff. Yeah.
She hates comics and he does. So what class do you imagine do they have in common? As in like, because they're going to interact in a class, kan? So like I imagine, unless they're taking the same course, do you imagine them taking the same course?
They could either take the same course or they would take different courses, but with like some subjects, like some same subjects. I don't know what yet, but
Okay. There's something to think about, like macam, because when you think about a point of interaction, it has to be believable that they met in that setting, that they meet in that setting. So yeah, I mean, like, it's something to think about. And so when you say Fauzi is immediately put off by him, right? But is she put off by him just because he draws comics, or is it a personality thing? Why is she put off by him?
I think it's kind of both, like you drew me in secret, you creep, and also like, oh, you draw, you remind me so much of my father, but she wouldn't say that lah. That's what would go through her head.
The whole you remind me so much of my father would be a bit too premature. So I think the whole, because I feel that as much as Pauzi hates someone who reminds her of her father, like I understand that hatred is real. It's just that featuring it on screen is going to be tricky, and it has to be done well so that it doesn't come across as something shallow, because it's definitely something deep, right? Because ada banyak filem-filem yang macam ni di mana the character definition is very extensive macam ni, tapi bila dia cuba paparkan karakter ni melalui interaction dia dengan karakter lain di screen, dan bila kita tak pandai orang kata buat the banter or the dialogue or the interaction, it will come across as shallow, that she hates this guy just because he reminds her of her father, unless of course there is a very clear establishment of Fauzi's backstory before that in flashbacks or somewhat. So yeah, I mean, like, it can be done, and if it's done well, it's going to work out beautifully. It just has to be featured on screen in a way that it is not in a way that is not shallow, kan? It's not like a throwaway dialogue yang macam, you call me artist, macam I benci kau punya artist, you know, like macam and then it's like, kenapa, like macam sebab bapa I call me artist. Because just so that it doesn't come across that way, because the hatred has to be like a very simmering kind of hatred, because in real life we don't do that. We don't go up to a person. We don't go up to a person and we tell that person we hate on first glance, and it would be featured in a way that she interacts with him, macam body language dia macam mas, is that maybe
it could also, like, if she's not self-aware enough in that sense to even know that her father has affected her this much.
That much.
So maybe she hates him, but she doesn't know why until like maybe like later
on. And but I think the first point of interaction where she thinks he's a creep is good. That would show clearly on screen, because, like, you know, duduk sebelah, like, I don't know who you are, you just seem to give off creepy energy. I'm already not liking it. And then, you know, maybe things fall to the ground and she sees like a sketch of herself. And that would freak out any girl, I feel.
Yeah.
It depends. Sometimes it freaks a girl out, sometimes it flatters a girl. But if you want it to come across as being creepy, then, you know, the way you shoot it is going to matter. Because you want it to come across as creepy, kan? So, and then it would be like a whole heated argument. But again, it depends on Fauzi's personality. Is she the kind of person who would call him out and say, what the hell is this, and confront him and get into a heated argument straight away? Ataupun adakah dia sejenis orang yang sedikit timid dan ternampak benda tu and just quickly runs away from him? So this is where your character is tested. The personality of your character is tested. So what kind of a person is she when she discovers somebody has been drawing sketches of her, right? Because if let's say if she's a hopeless romantic, like a somewhat ditzy hopeless romantic, she might find it flattering. You know, she might go like, oh, this is so sweet. You drew like sketches of me. I didn't think anybody would draw sketches of me. So it all depends on her personality.
I imagine him to be the hopeless romantic, and she would be like the headstrong, straightforward kind of a person. So
see that, that would be nice, because then when she discovers it, she would be horrified. But then he sees him staring up at her, smiling, yang macam look what I did. But he thinks he's a hopeless romantic, but that comes across as creepy, yang macam look what I did. That's creepy. Another person, but to Adi is like, this is something romantic that I did. So then you have a clash of ideology, because Adi thinks this is the great thing that he did. You know, I worship you, but to Fauzi is like, you, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, that's how I imagine.
Yeah. So there's already sparks of ideas from this. Okay, awesome, Susan. Thanks.
Thank you.
Alright, so next we go to Mukris. Ibu Adi, seorang yang berwawasan dan berjaya. Dia tidak suka Adi menjadi pelukis komik. Dia selalu memaksa Adi untuk belajar dan menyambung bisnes. Dia juga seorang ibu yang garang. Walaupun dia selalu memarahi Adi, tapi dia amat menyayangi Adi. Dia tidak pandai untuk menunjukkan rasa kasih sayang terhadap anaknya. Okay. Ni menarik. Kenapa? Sebab apa? Ibu Adi semestinya adalah isteri kepada ayah Adi lah, yang baru meninggal tadi. Sebenarnya asalnya saya buat Adi ni seorang anak yatim piatu. Maksudnya ibunya dah meninggal terlebih dahulu. Tapi tak apa, kita anggapkan ibunya belum meninggal lagi. Ayahnya yang meninggal terlebih dahulu. Jadi sebab ibu Adi ni berkahwin dengan ayah Adi yang merupakan seorang pelukis komik. Jadi mana dia Mukris? Jadi Mukris, ibu Adi ni berkahwin dengan seorang pelukis komik dan tidak mahu Adi menjadi pelukis komik. Kenapa? Adakah ada kena-mengena dengan ayahnya? Adakah kerana mereka hidup susah? Adakah ibu Adi tidak suka kerana hidup susah berkahwin dengan pelukis komik dan dia tak nak anaknya menjadi orang yang sama?
Saya tak. Yang saya fikirkan yang ibu Adi tidak menyukai Adi menjadi pelukis komik kerana ini merupakan satu kerja yang tidak menjamin masa depan yang cerah bagi ibu Adi sendiri. Okey, tapi dia berkahwin dengan seorang pelukis komik. Ibu Adi. Dan perkahwinannya dia sangat menyesal lah sebenarnya.
Jadi Mukris membayangkan kehidupan Adi sekeluarga ni adakah kehidupan yang susah? Maksudnya yalah, tak mewah lah. Adi membayangkan kehidupan keluarga Adi ni macam mana? Mukris membayangkan kehidupan keluarga Adi ni macam mana?
Saya membayangkan kehidupan keluarga mereka a bit complicated sebab ibu dan ayah dia walaupun berkahwin tapi duduk asing-asing sebab mereka tak nak bercerai.
Okay.
So Adi nak stay dengan bapa dia sebabkan Adi suka untuk melukis komik.
Okay. Jadi Adi duduk dengan bapa dia lah, tak duduk dengan ibu dia kan?
Ya betul.
So it's a constant battle. Ibu dia sentiasa cuba untuk menarik Adi ke arah ibu dia dan mengikut kemahuan ibu dia untuk kebaikan Adi sendiri. Maksudnya macam tu kan?
Ya betul.
Okay. So that's interesting. Dan ini dia menjadi sebuah konflik keluarga dan dia boleh menjadi sebuah cerita kekeluargaan. It's a battle between the mother and the father of always trying to win Adi's affection or trying to win Adi's trust. Dan ia boleh menjadi satu cerita yang sangat menarik sebab mungkin pada awal cerita Adi memang nampak seolah-olah ayahnya memang hero kepada dirinya. Kita nampak konflik antara ayah dengan ibu dia. Dan bila ayah dia meninggal, Adi memang tak ada pilihan melainkan untuk kini menjaga ibunya dan duduk dengan ibunya kan. Dan kita dapat nampak perkembangan perhubungan Adi dengan ibu dia in the second half or in 2/3 of the story. And it would be so interesting to see macam mana seseorang yang sebelum ni hero worship ayah dia dan merasakan ibu dia the bad guy in the relationship, how does this perception change bila dia terpaksa duduk sebumbung dengan ibu dia dan mengenali ibu dia dengan lebih mendalam. Betul?
Ya betul.
Adakah Mukris terfikir untuk membawanya ke situ ataupun Mukris ada idea lain bila Mukris tulis tentang ibu Adi ni?
Mana idea? Macam tu.
Okay. Menarik. Cerita ni memang boleh jadi satu cerita kekeluargaan yang menarik. Okay. Terima kasih Mukris. Adilah, Jentayu. Jentayu adalah karakter komik fantasi pertama yang dilukis Adi sewaktu dia masih kanak-kanak. Karakter itu dibuat bersama arwah ibunya, menyedari Adi adalah seorang kanak-kanak berbakat seperti ayahnya namun pemalu dan sentiasa merindui ayahnya, seorang pelukis berjaya yang selalu mengembara ke seluruh dunia. Jentayu adalah watak demigod yang boleh berubah ke bentuk manusia, burung jentayu dan fusion of both. Okay, this is a fantasy story. Nice. Suatu malam Jentayu jatuh dalam bilik Adi dengan separuh badannya cedera. Dia memberitahu Adi alam fantasi yang dilukis Adi diserang kegelapan yang tidak mampu Jentayu hapuskan seorang diri. Dia memerlukan bantuan Adi untuk melawan kejahatan itu dan perlu sembuh dari kecederaan separuh badannya. Dia bertukar ke bentuk seorang lelaki untuk sembuh. Adi harus merasa dia sudah hampir gila. Jentayu mempunyai perangai arwah bapanya, heroic, idealistic dan sebahagian ibunya, penyayang dan pengembara. Mereka membuat Adi belajar menghargai kehidupannya. Alright, I think I know where you're going with this. Adila, this is your fantasy story in which the audience may not be, or rather may be tricked into thinking that, is this really happening? Or is this all in Adi's mind as a way to handle his grief?
Yeah, betul.
Is that where you're going with it?
Yeah, because I remember you mentioned that he has depression.
Right.
People cope differently. So I wanted him to escape to his childhood where he was happy with his mother, he misses his mom, where his dad was still alive even though he was not around him but alive. Macam sekarang, the dad dah memang tak ada, he will never be able to see his dad coming home from his travels and all that anymore. So the way he's coping is this. But at the same time, I also want to, in a way, if it's also real, there's also nothing like, if the myth memang datang and dia akan jadi macam, I think some Korean or Japanese punya macam anime ataupun manga ada this type of fantasy/reality where the comic book character comes to life, and the comic book character dia masuk to a new world, dia tak reti nak adjust to real world because the character live in a fantasy world kan. So macam mana Adi help this person try to accommodate untuk dia heal to live as a normal person, and that made him realize more about himself. And I also remember you mentioned that dia a bit arrogant. But I also feel that people yang kadang-kadang nampak arrogant or feels like, oh, the world doesn't see me, I'm talented, also suffer from deep insecurity juga. Because, you know, what is stopping them from actually they use like, okay, orang tak percaya I, that's why I'm not successful, that as a just psychological excuse in their mind to not push themselves forward, because okay, I'm gonna fail anyway. So him having to do the things that he normally wouldn't do just to help this Jentayu pushes him to realize that satu, I have that insecure issue, and that is the thing that prevent me from becoming who I want to be, which is my father. And I have to get through that, and he found that his calling that by helping Jentayu ni lah. That's basically it. Yeah.
Nice, awesome. So yeah, this is fantastic. I mean, like, it would work very well. I think it will work very well as an animation if you were to sort of, if you were to pitch this to MDEC, I think they would be very, very much interested. Yeah, this is great. I mean, like, ada beberapa cerita yang meletakkan elemen fantasi di mana seseorang itu juga melalui fasa di mana emosi dan mentalnya tidak begitu stabil. So sometimes it's depression, sometimes it's bipolar, sometimes it's schizophrenia. Tapi alam fantasi ini sedikit sebanyak membantu dia untuk cope dengan whatever emotional or mental instability that he or she is going through. Okay, awesome. Thanks Adila. Dari seorang wanita cantik berkahwin dengan orang bukan pilihan, akhirnya wanita itu meninggal dengan penuh tragis akibat pasangan hidup yang sentiasa berprasangka terhadapnya. Okay. Wanita cantik berkahwin dengan orang bukan pilihan, akhirnya wanita itu meninggal dan penuh tragis dengan akibat pasangan hidup berprasangka. Okay. Mungkin Dali tadi tak berapa dengar waktu kita mula-mula berbincang tentang Adi ni. Jadi kita nak tahu macam mana watak Dali ni berinteraksi dengan watak Adi. Jadi Dali ni bayangkan macam mana watak ni berinteraksi dengan watak Adi.
Watak ni dia seorang remaja cantik dari sebuah kampung. Dia menjadi pilihan ramai, tetapi dia berkahwin dengan seorang yang bukan pilihan atas bantuan kuasa gaib lah. Dan akhirnya kehidupan mereka ini penuh dengan masalah, konflik dalam keluarga. Kenapa dia banyak konflik? Sebab laki-laki dia itu kuat cemburu dengan kebanyakan bekas-bekas boyfriend dia dulu. Dan yang perempuan pula, dia tidak begitu meminati setelah dia mengetahui bahwa dia diguna-gunakan, dia tidak begitu meminati dengan suami dia. Dan di sanalah konflik dalam rumah tangga itu. Dan mereka tinggal berasingan dengan, dia tidak sebumbung dengan mama dia itu perempuan. Dia tinggal mama lagi. Bapak dia meninggal sejak dari kecil tuh perempuan yang wanita tuh. Jadi di klimaks cerita ini, dia perempuan itu meninggal disebabkan oleh perkara-perkara yang dibuat oleh suami dia. Dan kematian istri itu, wanita itu menyebabkan kehidupan suami itu berubah menjadi 360 degree derajat dari segi amalan ritual. Dulu dia seorang yang tidak mempunyai kepercayaan, dia lebih kepada kepercayaan gaib, dia lebih tidak mempercayai apa-apa. Tetapi akhirnya dia menjadi seorang yang betul-betul alim setelah kematian istri dia.
Okey. Ini adalah pembinaan watak ya, Dali. Tapi mungkin tidak kena dengan latihan yang kita tengah buat sekarang. Tetapi ini adalah salah satu daripada proses pembinaan watak. Jadi boleh gunakan watak ini untuk cerita yang Daddy sedang lakukan ya. Okay, terima kasih.
Ya, tadi itu sebenarnya tadi itu saya kehabisan data, jadi saya terus masuk saja.
Oh, okay. Alright, bagus, terima kasih.
Kehabisan data.
Tak apa. Okay, jadi kita pergi kepada yang seterusnya. Terima kasih Daddy.
Iya.
I may be skipping a few things untuk tengok. Sorry, I didn't realize that we were running a bit late. Okay, saya bacakan yang kena dengan kita punya assignment ni Okay, Hasilawati dah meninggalkan room, tapi mungkin Fariz boleh kongsi feedback saya berkenaan dengan apa yang dia tulis. Abu, kawan Adi sejak dari kecil, seorang yang bertubuh gempal dan seorang yang bertubuh gempal dan berambut hampir botak, suka melepak di rumah Adi sambil membaca komik dan menemani Adi melukis. Selalu sukakan gadis-gadis dan mempromot bakat lukisan Adi demi mengenali gadis-gadis. Oh, so Abu is your wingman. Abu is Adi punya wingman. Seorang yang protektif dan sanggup melindungi Adi dari bahaya atau cemburuan orang lain dengan saiz badannya. Jadi Abu is your loyal friend, is your loyal friend, your wingman, dan watak seperti Abu ni yang merupakan kawan baik kepada karakter utama, selalunya kalau apa-apa terjadi kepada Abu ni, dia akan lebih menyentuh perasaan audience daripada jika apa-apa berlaku pada Adi. This is the audience politics that normally happens when you introduce a best friend character, and if you build the best friend character very, very well, he becomes a little bit more lovable to the audience compared to the main character. Dan ini adalah salah satu daripada cara untuk menjadikan cerita itu lebih menarik. Aini, Adi's love interest, perempuan hitam manis berambut kerinting yang selalu menyendiri tetapi juga pandai melukis. Okay, jadi Aini ni adalah somebody who is very, very much like Adi and becomes his love interest. Jadi benda ni juga boleh berlaku. Tak semestinya love interest untuk main character adalah karakter yang bertentangan sepenuhnya daripada karakter utama. Mungkin karakternya adalah karakter yang sejibit-sejiban macam main character, dan kerana itu akan muncul konflik somewhere along the line if Adi were to be attracted or to fall in love with somebody who is the complete opposite to himself. Alright. Okay. Saya baca yang berkenaan dengan Adi saja. Liviana, Budin, seorang yang sangat periang, sentiasa berfikiran terbuka, memberi semangat kepada Adi untuk terus melukis komik biarpun Adi baru kematian ayahnya. Membantu Adi dalam merealisasikan impian untuk menjadi lebih terkenal seperti ayahnya. So Budin is another wingman. Budin tadi adalah seperti Abu, is another wingman, another lovable and loyal friend. Okay. Johannes, Ana seorang penggemar komik yang berminat untuk mendalami penghasilan komik, menjadikan ayah Adi sebagai idola sehingga berita kematian itu mengejutkan beliau. Namun situasi berubah apabila Ana menjumpai hasil komik yang sama dengan hasil komik arwah dan cuba mencari siapa pelukis komik tersebut. Dalam pencariannya, Ana mula mengenali Adi. Adi mula mendapat semangat kembali kerana Ana sentiasa menyokongnya kerana mengetahui ayahnya pernah mengubah hidup orang. Bibit cinta mula berkutik dalam proses pembelajaran menghasilkan komik antara Ana dan Adi. Ketika itu Adi tahu Ana adalah seorang kawan dan akhirnya menjadi teman hidupnya. Alright. So this is nice. Ana starts by idolizing Adi's father, and then got closer to Adi and helped Adi go through his grief. Kerana Ana seorang yang mengagumi ayah Adi. Dan kita boleh wujudkan konflik di sini, di mana mungkin kadang-kadang sometimes when we build the image or the character of somebody in our heads, bila kita akhirnya berjumpa dengan orang tu tak sama seperti mana yang ada dalam kepala kita, dan dengan ini wujudnya konflik. I think banyak cerita yang dah cover jalan cerita yang sebegini. contoh yang saya boleh ingat buat masa sekarang ni ialah The Fault in Our Stars, di mana karakter utamanya sangat mengagumi seorang penulis dan bila dia akhirnya dapat berjumpa dengan penulis tu seorang asshole. Jadi mungkin kalau nak menjadikan ia konflik, kita boleh pergi ke arah itu. Tapi kalau tidak, kalau Ana can be like overly infatuated by Adi's father sampai membuatkan Adi merasa yang dia tidak cukup layak untuk mendapat adulation daripada Ana kerana dia bukan ayahnya. Jadi mungkin Adi akan ada esteem issues juga dekat situ yang boleh menimbulkan konflik. Right? Okay. I think we've covered everything that is relevant to the assignment. Kepada yang lain-lain, terima kasih sebab membina watak juga. Maaf saya tak sempat nak tengok semua. Jadi saya ambil mana yang relevan kepada assignment sahaja. Saya harap dengan ini semua orang lebih jelas bagaimana nak membina watak dan bagaimana watak ini akan berinteraksi dengan watak-watak yang lain. Sebab bila watak ini berinteraksi, sebab dalam bengkel yang sebelum ini, kita mencampakkan watak-watak kita ke dalam situasi dan kita tengok macam mana dia berinteraksi, macam mana dia react dalam situasi. Kali ini kita meneliti bagaimana watak kita berinteraksi dengan watak lain dan macam mana character dynamics tu wujud antara satu watak dengan watak-watak yang lain. Jadi saya harap ini dapat membantu sedikit sebanyak dalam penulisan skrip masing-masing dan dalam teknik penceritaan masing-masing. I hope this was very helpful to everybody. This brings us to the end of our class. Cuma kalau mungkin ada apa-apa soalan, any last burning questions maybe?
Kalau tu ada
Adila, bagaimana penulis boleh membina background, latar belakang yang kuat untuk watak utama supaya personality dan tingkah lakunya konsisten dengan watak? Bagaimana penulis boleh membina background? Oh, meaning like the backstory of the watak utama supaya personality dan tingkah lakunya konsisten dengan watak. If you ask bagaimana, you have to think of the characters. You have to think of the characters as though they are real dan juga bila kita cuba untuk membina latar belakang dia, meaning its upbringing, his or her nurture, kita harus fikirkan, satu cara ialah kita fikirkan personality dia sekarang and we try to sort of backtrack and we find a valid reason or a valid reason of why he is this way. Dan selalunya itu akan membantu untuk membina backstory dia. Whenever you ask yourself, why is your character this way? Nombor dua, apa faktor yang harus dipertimbangkan apabila penulis membuat world building untuk watak utama dan watak sampingan? Faktor yang harus dipertimbangkan untuk membuat world building. Bagi saya, faktor yang harus dipertimbangkan untuk membuat world building ni, at which point of time of the character's life is this story going to take place? Satu. And dua, is that point of time in the character's life the most interesting part to showcase to an audience? So these are the two questions that I think you need to cover first. And then after that, hopefully the world building comes naturally after that. Okay, tiga keempat. Bagaimana penulis boleh mengimbangi watak sampingan yang penting, sebagai contoh macam Hasadi Papa ada banyak watak, tanpa membuat penonton hilang minat. So you have to be clear if your story is about a collective or is your story about a main and central character surrounded by supporting characters. So this is something that you have to decide first. Adakah cerita ini mengenai sekumpulan orang dan semua orang dalam kumpulan ini penting untuk diketengahkan? Contoh yang antara contoh yang saya boleh come up with, the current one on Netflix is Valeria. It's a Spanish series. So there are 4 main woman characters in there, and each and every one of them are equally important. So that's a story about a collective. Dan satu lagi, kalau dia adalah main and central character dan orang lain semua adalah supporting characters. So if you've made this decision, it's easier for you to make that balance. Sebab kalau collective, then everybody has to be important lah. Everybody has to have the same weight kiranya. And everybody has to have a substantial conflict in that collective so that the audience remain interested. Kalau dia adalah berkenaan dengan main character, central character, and the rest are just supporting characters, then your focus should always be on the main character and the central character. The supporting characters work or serve to make the main and central characters more interesting. That's their purpose. Sometimes you can't help it lah. Supporting characters sometimes steal the limelight and it cannot be helped. Like for example, if you were to look at Devil Wears Prada, Emily Blunt was just a supporting character, but she completely stole the limelight, and I think that was completely unintentional. That was only because the character was interesting and the way she played it was so interesting, she managed to steal the limelight. Jadi ada setengah perkara yang di luar kawalan penulis dan maybe even also the director. Okay, I hope that answers your question. Okay, kalau tak ada apa-apa lagi, terima kasih banyak-banyak. Thank you so much for spending your Merdeka Day and your Merdeka morning with me. I really appreciate it. And
Bye. Okay, thank you very much, Nadia, for sharing your experience and teaching the participants yang dekat sini, sebab ini sangat membantu dorang untuk especially character building and log lines, sebab they are doing the exercises and they have to be submitting something to at the end of this course, something to show their work and how their pitching is going to be afterwards. So apa yang Nadia dah beri, jangan risau, dia akan ada link dalam private link dari YouTube juga. Siapa yang ada termiss, terputus-putus, boleh lihat balik, boleh dengar balik apa Nadia borak dengan dah discuss dengan semua tadi. Jadi boleh ambil poin-poin tu lagi. Betul, Sarah Monica. Jangan lupa follow follow Instagram Nedo Nadia Khan kalau ada soalan apa-apa selanjutnya. Betul. Kak Nadia, saya follow Twitter dari zaman sekolah menengah lagi.
Wah, that means I'm old.
So harap semua stay safe out there. Terima kasih. And terima kasih Nadia, and you also please stay safe kat sana, and have a good the rest of the day, and thank you again very much for teaching all these participants. It really helps with their proposal building.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you. Hey, Johannes is my super junior. Bye everyone. Thank you so much. Have a great holiday. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So partisipan-partisipan yang masih ada sini, nanti saya letak dalam grup, sebab kita punya masa dah peserta-peserta masa dah terlebih sikit. Nanti kita mula masuk, saya bagi masa lebih sikit sampai pukul 2.45 boleh? Jadi boleh makan lunch, boleh rehat, siapa yang perlu solat-solat, ya? Okay. Nanti kami kita buka dia punya admission, dia punya masuk untuk sesi petang ni bermula dari 2.45. Okey? Guna link yang sama. Meeting sekarang ni pun memang saya akan end, tapi nanti guna link yang sama ya. Okey, cukup rehat dan good luck on your proposal. Jangan lupa, proposal ni hanya latihan, bukan proposal betul. Kalau tak siap pun submit saja sebab kita nak tengok kemampuan diri sendiri anda macam mana. Okey? Okey. Terima kasih, jumpa petang ini 2.45.
Baiklah.
Tunggu sana Abil, jangan jalan-jalan.
Ya kak. Saya mau jalan ni, mau pasang bendera.